For years, AAA gaming used to be the unquestioned pinnacle of the industry. Games with massive budgets, marquee franchise names, and global marketing campaigns that turned launches into cultural events. And today, that old order is now collapsing under its own weight. Developers are laying off talent, major releases limp out with bugs and half-baked features, and today, players are now looking elsewhere for the kinds of experiences that actually matter. What we're seeing is not just a shift in tastes, but a fundamental reordering of what success looks like in games. Indie and AA developers, once dismissed as niche curiosities, are now routinely delivering experiences that land more meaningfully with players than many AAA games ever have. And this isn't an exaggeration. It's grounded in clear trends across sales, player engagement, and community reception. Today, indie and AA titles aren't just cheaper games. In many respects, they embarrass AAA gaming altogether. Let's break this down. For decades, AAA studios operated on a simple assumption: bigger budgets equal better games and bigger profits. But that model that once dominated the industry is now under intense pressure. Multiple major studios have gone through waves of layoffs since 2022, with thousands of developers losing their jobs. With 1 in 10 developers having lost jobs in 2024 alone, driven by declining revenue and corporate restructuring. Indie revenue on PC has been growing far faster than AAA, with indie PC revenue growing at an annual rate of 22%, compared to just 8% for AA and AAA between 2018 and 2024. The conclusion is pretty clear. AAA budgets are now no longer sustainable in the face of rising costs, saturated markets, and changing player expectations. What this means is not just a downturn in profitability, but a broader erosion of AAA relevance. Meanwhile, indie and AA titles are not merely surviving, they are thriving. On Steam, indie games accounted for 48% of all full game revenue in 2024, coming close to AAA and AA titles. It's a massive shift in where players are spending their time and money. Millions of copies sold within days, often with tiny marketing budgets. 2025 alone has been labeled by many analysts as the year for indie and AA games, with titles like Split Fiction, Expedition 33, and Hollow Knight Silksong dominating discussions online and in player communities. These games don't just sell, they engage. They define community conversations. Indie and AA titles are now front and center. They are competing for, and often winning, the same cultural space and player attention that once belonged almost exclusively to AAA. And the reason for all of this is because indie and AA studios are doing what AAA companies are not. For one, a smaller budget actually helps. It frees indie and AA developers from the crushing burden of needing to appeal to a global mass market with safe, predictable formulas. As a result, they can experiment with narrative mechanics, pacing, and art in ways that AAA rarely attempts. Games like Hollow Knight Silksong are proof of concept. Created by a tiny team, its launch traffic literally crashed digital storefronts, something a AAA title would struggle to achieve without millions spent on marketing. Second, they focus on player-first design over monetization. Across multiple AAA launches in recent years, aggressive monetization, battle passes, loot boxes, and just other intrusive nonsense has become the default business model. Players increasingly view this as exploitative and greedy, eroding trust with the audience and shifting their dollars elsewhere. Indie titles usually ship at a fair price point, without all the nickel and diming, and offer hundreds of hours of replayable content. This builds long-term engagement and community goodwill rather than resentment. And third, they have a focused scope. AAA titles often launch with crippling bugs, missing features, undercooked systems, and bad optimization. And not just occasionally, but again and again. These technical missteps have real commercial impact, driving down player retention and review scores. In contrast, indie and AA titles often delivered polished core experiences because they focus on fewer things done really well. And finally, they reflect players' desire for authenticity. It's not just about playtime or graphics. Players are signaling they want games that feel alive, worlds crafted with passion, where story, mechanics, art direction, and characters cohere around a clear vision. Many indie and AA titles have delivered that in spades, while AAA releases feel like they're chasing trends and shareholder impressions. And for AAA games, the writing is on the wall for them. Games are teased years in advance with massive hype, only to release with missing content or poorly optimized performance. Players routinely express frustration at $70, up to even $100 price tags, for games they feel just aren't worth it. There's widespread community frustration that AAA companies prioritize profit over players, and that these companies chase trends, pump out sequels, and all want that live service cash. That perception matters because it influences purchasing behavior and long-term brand trust. This dynamic doesn't just hurt their reputation, it's destroying AAA's grip on the games industry. The rise of indie and AA titles redefines what players expect. For decades, AAA reigned partially because there were no alternatives with comparable quality. But now, there's a sea of indie and AA games where you can find almost whatever you want. Emotional stories, innovative mechanics, and meaningful design without a mountain of monetization. These games have become trendsetters. They can take risks because their budgets don't force them to need to make tens of millions of dollars to be successful. As players increasingly embrace indie and AA games, AAA studios face a choice. They can either finally prioritize player-first design, fair monetization, and creative risk, or they can just continue to push players away and fade into obscurity. AAA gaming as we once knew it, big budgets, big hype, guaranteed hit, is no longer the dominant force. It's shrinking in relevance while indie and AA titles rise by delivering more compelling player-first games that resonate deeply with their audience. Indie and AA games are not just alternatives to AAA releases anymore. In many respects, they are now the best games being made today. Not because they have the deepest pockets, but because they understand why people play these games in the first place. And it's sad that AAA gaming is the one that no longer does. But I would love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. If you learned anything, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.